You're sitting across from her at dinner, and the conversation is flowing. She leans in a little when you talk. She laughs easily. The energy feels warm, even charged. And then you notice it. Your hand is resting on the table close to hers. Close enough that if you moved just slightly, you'd be touching her. And for a second you hesitate, not because you're afraid, but because you know something most younger guys never figure out. That how you touch a woman matters more than the fact that you do. That the difference between creating attraction and making her uncomfortable comes down to awareness, to timing, to how comfortable she already feels with you. Most men either avoid touch completely or rush it. They wait too long out of politeness or fear, or they move too fast and kill the tension they were building. But as a man with experience, you understand something deeper. You understand that touch isn't a technique, it's a language. And when you speak it correctly, it creates a feeling in her that words alone never could. A feeling of safety and excitement at the same time. Today we're going to talk about something most dating advice gets completely wrong. How to use physical touch in a way that makes her feel both safe and aroused. Not through tricks or manipulation, but through calm awareness and the kind of presence that only comes with maturity. If you value insights into human behavior and attraction that most people miss, subscribe to Mature Instincts. This is where we explore the hidden signals that separate men who understand women from men who are still guessing. Let's start with what makes touch so powerful in the first place. Touch is the most primal form of communication we have. Before language, before gestures, before anything else, humans communicated safety, dominance, affection, and intent through physical contact, and that wiring is still active. When you touch someone, you're bypassing their logical mind and speaking directly to their nervous system. You're either calming it or activating it. And here's what younger men don't understand. A woman's body reads your touch before her mind does. She feels your intent before you say a word. If your touch is hesitant, uncertain, or apologetic, she feels that. Her body interprets it as weakness or discomfort, and she pulls back. If your touch is too aggressive, too sudden, or too presumptuous, her nervous system flags it as a threat. She tenses up. The window closes. But when your touch is calm, confident, and attuned to how she's already feeling, something different happens. Her body relaxes, she feels seen, she feels safe, and in that safety, arousal becomes possible. This is where maturity gives you a massive advantage, because you're not desperate for her approval, you're not trying to prove anything, you're simply present with her, reading her signals and responding to what's actually happening instead of what you hope will happen. Younger men treat touch like a goal, something they have to achieve or unlock. You treat it like a conversation, something that flows naturally when the conditions are right. So let's talk about those conditions. Before you ever touch her, you need to understand something fundamental. Touch only works when there's already comfort and attraction. If she doesn't feel safe with you yet, touch will push her away no matter how smooth you think you are. If she's not attracted to you, touch won't create that attraction. It will only make things awkward. This is why the idea of using touch as a trick or a tactic is flawed from the start. Touch doesn't create attraction. It amplifies what's already there. It takes the warmth that's building between you and turns it into heat. But only if the foundation is solid. And here's the good news. As a man over 50, you're naturally better at building that foundation than most younger guys. You know how to listen without an agenda. You know how to hold space for a woman without needing constant validation. You know how to be comfortable with silence, with pauses, with letting a moment breathe. All of that creates safety, and safety is the soil in which attraction grows. Now let's talk about how you actually introduce touch into an interaction. The biggest mistake men make is thinking that touch has to be a big move, a bold gesture, something she notices and has to decide about. That's not how it works. The best touch is almost invisible. It's so natural, so contextually appropriate that she doesn't consciously register it as a move at all. She just feels more connected to you, more comfortable, more drawn in. And that's where the concept of escalation comes in. Not escalation as in pushing forward aggressively, but escalation as in gradually increasing the level of physical connection in a way that matches the emotional connection you're building. You start with the most neutral, socially acceptable forms of touch. A hand on her shoulder when you greet her, a light touch on her arm when you're making a point in conversation, guiding her through a door with your hand briefly on her lower back. These moments are so subtle that if she's comfortable with you, she won't even think about them. But her body notices. Her nervous system registers that you're someone who's comfortable in your own skin, someone who isn't afraid of physical presence. And if she's attracted to you, those small moments start to build anticipation. Here's what you're doing psychologically. You're normalizing touch. You're showing her that physical contact with you feels easy and safe. You're not asking for permission with your words. You're reading her body language and adjusting in real time. If she leans into your touch, even slightly, you know she's comfortable. If she pulls back or stiffens, you give her space. No big deal, no awkwardness. You just recalibrate and stay present with her. And this is where younger men fail. They touch once, see that she didn't recoil, and immediately try to escalate further. They go from a hand on her shoulder to trying to hold her hand or pull her close. It's clumsy, it's rushed, and it breaks the spell. You don't do that. You let the touch linger in her awareness. You let her get used to the idea that being close to you feels good. And then, when the moment is right, you escalate just a little bit more. Maybe you're walking together and you take her hand to guide her across the street. Maybe you're sitting next to each other and your legs are touching and neither of you moves away. Maybe you're laughing at something she said and you rest your hand on her knee for just a second. Each of these moments is small, but each one is building something. You're creating a feedback loop where every comfortable touch makes the next one feel more natural. And because you're not rushing, because you're paying attention to her responses, she never feels pressured. She feels led, and that distinction is everything. Now let's talk about what makes this different from manipulation, because some men hear this and think it sounds calculated, like you're playing a game or running a script. But that's not what this is. This is attunement. This is being present enough to notice what she's feeling and responsive enough to meet her where she is. Manipulation is when you ignore her signals and push forward anyway. When you touch her in ways that make her uncomfortable because you're more focused on your goal than her experience. What we're talking about here is the opposite. You're creating safety by being someone she can trust, someone who won't push past her boundaries, someone who's confident enough to slow down and let things unfold naturally. And here's the paradox. The more willing you are to pull back, the less you'll need to. Because when a woman feels that you're not trying to take anything from her, that you're genuinely enjoying her company without needing it to go anywhere, she relaxes. And in that relaxation, she starts to wonder what it would be like to be closer to you. She starts to initiate, she starts to lean in. And that's when everything shifts. Let's talk about one of the most overlooked aspects of touch. The difference between touch that arouses and touch that comforts. Most men think these are the same thing. They're not. Comforting touch is steady, predictable, and safe. It calms her nervous system. Arousing touch is light, fleeting, and just slightly unpredictable. It activates her nervous system. Both have their place. And knowing when to use, which is what separates a man who truly understands women from someone who's just going through the motions. Early in an interaction, your touch should mostly be comforting. Firm handshakes, a steady hand on her back, touch that says, I'm here, I'm solid, I'm not going anywhere. This builds trust. But as the interaction progresses, as she becomes more comfortable and the energy between you intensifies, you start introducing arousing touch. A light brush of your fingers on her wrist, your thumb tracing a slow circle on the back of her hand, your hand resting on her thigh with just enough pressure that she's acutely aware of it. These touches are different. They're not about comfort. They're about creating tension, about making her hyper-aware of your physical presence. And when done correctly, they make her body respond in ways her mind hasn't consciously decided on yet. Here's what you need to understand. Arousal isn't something you create by doing more. It's something you create by doing less. By holding back just enough that she starts to want more, by being the man who's comfortable with tension instead of rushing to resolve it. Younger men are terrified of tension. They think if they don't act immediately, the moment will pass. So they lunge, they grab, they push, and they kill the very thing they were trying to create. You don't do that. You let the tension build. You let her feel the space between where you are and where things could go. And in that space, desire grows. And this brings us to something critical, the role of eye contact. Because touch without eye contact is just physical, but touch with eye contact becomes intimate. When you touch her arm and hold her gaze for a beat longer than necessary, you're not just touching her body, you're touching her attention. You're saying without words that you see her, that you're fully present, that this moment matters. And that level of presence is intoxicating. It's something most women never experience with men their own age, let alone younger guys who are too distracted or too insecure to truly be there. This is another place where maturity serves you. You've lived long enough to know that real connection isn't rushed, that the best moments happen when you're fully in them instead of thinking 3 steps ahead. So when you touch her, you're not already planning your next move. You're just there, feeling her warmth, noticing how her body responds, letting the moment be what it is. Now let's address something important. Consent and respect. Some men hear advice about touch and think it means ignoring boundaries or pushing past resistance. That's not what this is. Real confidence means being secure enough to slow down or stop if she's not comfortable. It means reading her body language and trusting what you see. If she's leaning away, creating distance, or going stiff when you touch her, those are signals. And respecting those signals is what makes you trustworthy. It's also what makes you different from the men who make her feel unsafe. You're not trying to take something from her. You're inviting her into an experience. And if she's not ready or not interested, you're perfectly fine with that. That groundedness is attractive in itself. Here's something most men never realize. A woman can feel whether you need her approval or whether you're simply enjoying her company. And that feeling changes everything. When you need something from her, every touch carries a hidden agenda. She feels it, her guard stays up. But when you're genuinely present, when you're touching her because it feels natural and right in the moment, not because you're trying to get somewhere, she can relax into it. She can let herself feel what she's feeling without worrying about what you're going to demand next. And that's when attraction deepens into something real. So let's recap what we've covered. Touch is a language, and like any language, it only works when both people are speaking it. You don't create attraction through touch. You amplify what's already there. The key is starting small, paying attention to her responses, and escalating gradually in a way that matches the emotional connection you're building. Comforting touch builds safety, arousing touch creates tension, and the best interactions move fluidly between both. You're not following a script, you're reading the moment and responding to what's actually happening. And because you're a man with experience, with patience, with nothing to prove, you can afford to slow down and let things unfold naturally. That's your advantage. That's what younger men don't have and can't fake. The truth is, most men never learn this. They spend their whole lives either avoiding touch out of fear or fumbling through it without awareness. But you're different. You notice things. You understand that attraction isn't about what you say or how you look. It's about how you make her feel. And when you touch her in a way that makes her feel both safe and alive, you're offering something rare. Something most women have been searching for and rarely find. So here's my question for you. What have you noticed about how women respond to touch as you've gotten older? Have you found that patience and presence make more of a difference than bold moves ever did? Drop a comment below and let me know. I'd genuinely like to hear your perspective. And if you found value in this, do me a favor. Hit the like button, leave a comment, and subscribe to Mature Instincts for more insights into the hidden signals most people miss. This is where we talk about the things experience teaches you, but no one else will say out loud. I'll see you in the next one.